What is up, addicts? Welcome to the Fantasy Addiction Network. In this video, we are taking a peek at what we expect to see from the newly acquired quarterback, Philip Rivers. It's funny using the words new and Philip Rivers, considering how long he's been in the NFL, but finally venturing out of the Chargers and coming to Indianapolis to replace Jacoby Brissett there for the Colts. And let's talk a bit about what we expect from him in 2020. So we'll begin by looking at what he did last year. And a lot of people, were talking about the 30-30 mark set by Jameis Winston. But if it wasn't for that, we'd probably be talking a lot more about the touchdown interception ratio that Philip Rivers put up last year. Just wasn't on a team that was getting nearly as much publicity because nobody cares about the Chargers because of freaking Dean Spanos. But overall, passing yards 4,615 and 23 passing touchdowns. Looks like a pretty good year, but then 20 interceptions. That's really bad. So he finishes the season as the 15th best quarterback, 255.5 points, averaging 16 points a game, 24th overall. That's not very good. And when you look at his game by game stats, only had 5 weeks where he finished as a quarterback one, and the rest of the season he was either finishing as a quarterback two or below. So there really wasn't any span of time that you were actually happy starting him. You had a couple games that if you started him against Indianapolis or Miami, Tennessee, or Jacksonville, turned out okay for you, but it was never anything explosive. And a lot of that just has to do with the changing way that fantasy points are scored with quarterbacks running the ball so much more now. Philip Rivers does not give you any upside at the running game, and with his arm efficiency going down and making more mistakes, it just led to a pretty poor season. So now he's going from a pass first team with the Chargers to the Colts, who are trying to establish a run first offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how these two chemistries mix with what Philip Rivers has been known to do for the entirety of his career, jumping over to a team with a good run blocking offensive line, spent high draft capital to get Jonathan Taylor, arguably the most athletic running back that we've seen since Saquon Barkley, and don't really know what to expect in terms of volume, but from a fantasy angle, it's probably just going to be best to steer clear. And we'll get a little bit more into that when we look at our projections. But I do want to at least lay the groundwork here before we talk about anyone else in this offense. Last year, Philip Rivers actually had 75 deep ball attempts, which was sixth most in the NFL, but only 30.7% completion percentage, which was pretty bad. Put him at number 27. He also was second in the number of interceptable passes, obviously behind Jameis Winston, but still finishing up there. And then 45 total danger plays. It was a very frustrating season. You could just see it on the face of Philip Rivers, and I think a lot of that had to do too with everything that was going on with the team and the relocation to LA. It just has been a bit abysmal in terms of their attendance. They really haven't had any support. It's like they had 16 away games. It's hard to continue to keep your composure with that. So I'm hoping that a fresh change of scenery will revitalize and rejuvenate what little of a career Philip Rivers has left, and hopefully he'll be able to find some success for the Colts, who could be a dark horse team to make the playoffs and actually go somewhere in the playoffs this year. So I think this would be a really good fit. I do think that they'll see his total target volume or his passing attempts go down a bit, but this should be a little bit more of an efficient offense with Philip Rivers there. Jacoby Brissett last year, especially as the season went on, just was not able to hang with the opposing defenses by any measure. It just looked a bit lost out there. So I think Philip Rivers will give a nice veteran composure to this team. And while we're not expecting them to be high flying in terms of passing efficiency, it should be a much better passing offense. Last year, he also had a true completion percentage of number 10 and an accuracy rating of 16, so it's not like he is incredibly inaccurate. He just took a lot of chances on a lot of throws that didn't go his way. And like I said, I think that has a lot more to do with the frustration rather than the waning ability of Philip Rivers. Now, one very interesting stat that will apply to our other videos, and really not sure if this will continue going into Indianapolis, but something to keep in mind. Last year, Philip Rivers targeted his running backs on 37% of his passing attempts. That is an absurdly high number that I don't expect it to be nearly that high in Indianapolis, but last year, Jacoby Brissett did not target his running backs very much at all. So there would definitely be a middle ground here, and it could arguably lead closer to the 37% because, again, Philip Rivers never tries to run with the ball. When he's feeling pressure, he checks it down to his running back. And I think there's going to be a good bit more targets to go around in the running back core there with Jonathan Taylor, Marlon Mack, and Nyheim Hines than there was previously. And part of that would be by design, and part of that would just be by Philip Rivers checking down to the running back when he doesn't have his original reads open. Again, as we mentioned, the Colts were 26th in pass plays last year. Probably going to see that go closer to the mean, probably be right about the middle, but this is a team that definitely wants to run the ball more than pass it. So taking all that into consideration, better offensive line, decent duo or decent trio of pass catchers with T.Y. Hilton, Paris Campbell, and Michael Pittman, and a really strong stable of running backs. We see the efficiency of Philip Rivers going up. The number of interceptions should go down slightly, maybe even more than this, but right now we have him projected to hit just above 4,000 passing yards. So again, a bit down in terms of his overall passing attempts. We have him at 26 passing touchdowns and 15 interceptions, but not giving you any floor for rushing. And he doesn't really give you much upside beyond this. Even if he has a really efficient season, he's probably not going to be throwing over 600 passes. And without giving you any rushing floor whatsoever, he'd really need to hit like closer to 35 passing touchdowns and 4,500 yards for him to even be a fantasy relevant quarterback these days, which means you're probably not going to really look at him other than a potential streaming option. Most drafts, he's probably not even going to be drafted outside of best ball leagues or 2 quarterback leagues, but I do think he'll still at least give you stability in those 2 quarterback settings. But in single quarterback standard leagues, probably going to be someone you're just going to look to on the waiver wire if you end up needing a quick plug-in. So that's what we feel will be Philip Rivers' season. Should be a better season than last year, hopefully less frustrating for him. And we are expecting this to be a boon to the running back core in Indianapolis because of how well Philip Rivers is able to play the screen game, play the check down game. I do believe that this will be a very good boost for the fantasy production of the running backs there in Indianapolis. So that's who I'm most excited about with having Philip Rivers come to town. But it's also good for the receivers there. T.Y. Hilton last year we saw was, other than dealing with injuries, was also struggling with efficiency from the quarterback play there with Jacoby Brissett. So I think this just helps the team all around. Excited to see if Philip Rivers can finally have some semblance of success playing for a team that will actually care to, one, have fans around him, and two, provide him with the support he needs. So hopefully he'll get a few more years before he calls it a career, and hopefully the Colts will be able to succeed in those last swan song years of Philip Rivers' career. But anyway, that is our take. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Also check out our website, fantasyaddictionnetwork.com, for a full list of rankings, and hit that like and subscribe button for more videos like this one, and we'll see you guys in the next video.